I am a professional cleaner for the welfare. 2 years ago, in the middle of the pandemic, I answered an ad on Nextdoor for a lawn care job. I live in Florida, and I was falling short of my bills, so I decided to do work after work and weekends to make ends meet. The job description was fairly bland in the description, talking about brush clearing, weeding, mowing grass, and planting flowers. Normal lawn care stuff. One piece added to the description was, if you do a good job, there can be more work depending on your effort levels, or something to that effect. I did not know at the time this was them testing me for how well I followed orders and could execute. The first couple of weeks, it was just doing yard work, and the bonus was it paid really nicely, around $200 an evening and up to $1,000 for a full weekend of work, around 6 hours a day. I remember the day it changed. One of the dogs on the property was killed by a wildcat. This is in Central Florida, so there are wildcats occasionally, but this was a grim scene. Blood and guts everywhere, all over their patio area. One of the other guys working the property omitted and quit as he was being forced to do this. I needed the cash, so I did my job. I cleaned it with bleach and some other cleaners, and they went over the area with a black light like CSI and even swabbed the area. I was told it was because the owners were germaphobes. I always worked with a property manager. At the time, I didn't think anything of the event until I got an extra $5,000 for cleaning it up. No blood nor DNA came up. In retrospect, that was a giant red flag. A couple of weeks went by and there were a few more cleaning incidents, but I was told to let other laborers work it. They were guys similar to me. Many were supplementing their income with DoorDash and Uber, and quite a few quit after having been asked to clean up dead possums or even a dead peacock. The scenes were very similar to the dog, blood and guts everywhere. We were worried, but the property manager told us that we were safe, as there was armed security all around and the predators never attacked the staff. We got a heads up about a month after I cleaned up the dog that the owners were returning from their summer house and that the property needed to be extra perfect. I was complimented for my work and was asked if I wanted to earn some additional pay working a party. I agreed, as the pay was a few thousand and a new suit to basically work as a gopher/general labor during a cocktail party. That night, everything changed, and I fell in the hole. That night everything seemed normal. Rich people in suits, mainly white, expensive cars and food, classical music, etc. The party was scheduled for 4 hours, and it went on as expected with a dinner and music, and through most of it was rich people networking. I was asked to help notify the valet that folks were leaving, assisting with a glass of water, helping escort people to find the bathroom, etc. Once the party was winding down, I was asked if I could stay for a bit later for the after party. It was double what I was being paid, which meant I would net almost $10,000 just for the day's work. I agreed, and was told I was being paid for discretion and help only. That is when the kids arrived. At first, I didn't realize they were kids. The boys and girls were dressed up like adults, just shorter or smaller in some cases. They wore like Eve masks and suits and dresses, and started arriving as most of the other guests left. I didn't know how young they were, and thought maybe it was like a college after-party thing. For like an hour nothing happened, only talking, laughing, and snacks. Then people started getting handsy, and vanishing to the more residential area of a mansion. I realized it was like Eyes Wide Shut, and was hoping if I was asked to join, I'd get a woman, and not some fat old guy. I wasn't asked to join. I was only the help. About 2 a.m. it happened. It was like that scene out of The Godfather, but no one was dead. A boy and a man were in the room, and the room was trashed. It reminded me of what rock stars discuss. Furniture trashed and booze everywhere. Both the men and the boy were half naked and bloody, like they had been fighting. The boy was mid-teens and looked out of it, like he was hit hard in football. The man was fit and red-faced. Both were being held back by security, and I was asked to start tidying up as they escorted the boy out. I remember the guy shouting while laughing, "You are fucking dead," several times. I cleaned the room while listening to audible sounds of people fucking all around me. After I finished, I was given a bonus and driven home. I think it was kind of like a frat, like they knew where I lived, but I netted over $15,000 for a night's work. I fell in the hole, and I knew it was wrong. The next day, the property manager asked to talk to me about the cleanup. I was taken to an office filled with dead and mounted game, weapons, and armor. It reminded me of the room from the last scene of the 80s Roadhouse film. The property manager, an older Cuban guy, talked to me about discretion and how these were powerful people, and my job is not to judge. I affirmed that and told him I was hired to clean up an after-party. There was some menace, but I knew the situation, but I also wanted the money. The property manager told me I wasn't going to work on the yard anymore, and if I wanted, I could continue to work as a support specialist for future parties. I agreed, and then we parted ways. I went home and awaited the call. A few weeks later, I got another call. This continued a pattern where there would be a main party, an after party, followed by private but audible orgies, and the newcomers were always young and wearing masks. One of my setup tasks were removing religious displays throughout the house. Crosses, Bibles, pictures of Jesus, etc. I was told it was due to a multicultural group attending these parties, and they did not want to force religion down anyone's throat. It was like 6 months later when I had to clean up another mess. That night there was another ruckus, but this was outside by the pool. I went out, and a girl was seizing on the ground, blood coming from her mouth and eyes. She was nude, and her body was red, like she was beaten up. A woman was lounging on a lawn chair, smiling at the scene, totally nude and in her 60s. She wore a very lavish necklace, with rubies that I remember from earlier that night. I later recognized her as the wife of some sugar executive. The guy with her was not her husband, but a muscular older guy. A doctor came by and took her away after injecting her with something. I was told it was medication. I was ordered by a security guard to clean up the spot as they escorted the guy and the lady inside. The next day, I was asked to come in to debrief. I was told that the girl had a seizure due to too much drinking, but was fine, and was complimented on my cleaning. On the way out, another dead dog by the pool, right where the girl was, and I had cleaned. That freaked me out. This continued for about another year. While I never saw anything directly satanic, I knew that what was going on there was. I learned later the food they served in the after-party was laced with drugs, and the newcomers were often drugged up before the party. Some were visibly younger, but I think most were 12 plus. I even saw some famous politicians at the house, though I do not know if any of them stayed for the after-party. The worst experience happened a few months ago, and it was the reason I quit. I netted a few $100,000 from this job, and was able to buy a nice house and a car, and pay off all of my student loans, but I just could not do it anymore. It was shortly after a party that there was a commotion in the large public bathroom in the main house. It's the bathroom for visitors and lacked a shower/tub, but was bigger than my dorm in college, with a fancy gold toilet and bidet. I walked in. The scene was grim. Blood and fluids everywhere. One of the newcomers had taken their own life by cutting their wrists and had vomited, piss, and shit all over the place. She was young, but had a tramp stamp. Her body was between the toilet and bidet, and she was dead. I was ordered by security to be discreet and to not tell anyone. I cleaned up and watched them take her body out in a rug. After that point, the stalking started. I don't think I get to quit law. Ever since I've not been back. While I never officially quit, I think I was fired. But I do spot cars sitting outside my house from my Ring camera, and I will see people following me in public. The type that look like hired security. I since moved from Florida, and now have not seen any further stalking, but I am afraid I'll get a call. It was in Windermere, Florida. I will not go into specifics. I used to work for this local delivery company that needed someone willing to work a series of closed-gate communities on bicycle, as they didn't allow non-registered vehicles in or out, and had gotten the local government contract to deliver all federal, and eventually, after about 2.5 years, we were contracted by a company that is basically our local FedEx or StoreTrack to deliver for them in those areas too. I have seen some crazy shit, my friends. I don't know if you'll buy what I'm selling, but they are among us. First week of the job is easy. Newspapers, letters, gardens are nice, always turn up on time, always double and triple check house numbers with listed address on package and letters, basically antisocial, and I wear dark tinted sunglasses when I ride anywhere, so nobody tries any small talk with me beyond "scorcher we're having" or "nice day in it," to which I would always reply, "yeah." One day a couple of months in, I get a job to deliver to a gated mansion in a gated community. I put my earpiece in to listen to music in one ear and still hear people. Looks like a James Bond / Secret Service earpiece. Plain black pants and white dress shirt, as I just came to work from ballroom dancing lessons. Ring the bell. Delivery for Sir Anon. Who gave you my address? How did you find me? The dude on the other end of the comm system for the house is freaking out. I speak calmly and clearly to try to calm the dude down. Nobody has found you, but I do have a delivery for you. Says to wait at the gate, and built dude in a suit came out and signed a scribble that I couldn't make out. You didn't see anything. You didn't hear anything. The suit tells me in a threatening tone. Have a nice day, I say, before getting right the fuck out of there. Then the weird shit started. I got a call to deliver a package, exactly the same as the one I did the day before. Turn up. Same pants and earpiece, but different white button-up shirt. Want me to post the rest? This old dude is standing in the driveway, flanked by 2 built bodyguards in a suit. He asks me, are you the one who can get me things? I'm wrong-footed by the whole turn of events, and after an awkward silence I say, yes, thinking he means to ask if I am the delivery man. He hands me a paper with some things written on it, and heads back into his house. Have a cursory glance at it, and it has a bunch of weird things like 19 ounces of mercury, 145 ounces of pig's blood, or nearest approximation available, 15 ounces of white sage, so on. Just weird specific weights of things that are kind of a little hard to find. Stuff the note in my pocket and decide to talk to my supervisor. Bump into a mate who also works where I do before I see the boss and talk to him about it. He dabbles in the occult and sci-fi and says he can get me that stuff by the evening. I say I don't even know if I'm going to deliver it. I mean, it's not like we talked about pay. He says if I buy the pig's blood from a butcher at the mall, he'll pay for the other stuff and see what happens. We'll split anything he gives us afterwards. Get everything together. Return the evening and ring the bell. The old man asks how it's possible I have what he asked for so quickly, and even comes up himself to check the bag's contents before suit number 2 in front of him steps in front of him and inspects it first. With vague surprise, he nods to the old dude. The old dude stares me down, and I'm listening to some chill music, and my sunglasses don't give much away, but he says, wait here, I'm going to weigh it. I stand almost perfectly still for what must have been like 20 minutes, as about 6 songs passed as I stood there. Old dude comes back out, chuckling. You're good, I'll give you that. You're really damn good, he says. A suit gives me a burlap coin purse, like from D&D. I'll have more requests later, he says, and turns to go inside. So I look into a sack, and there are a bunch of metal coins that look like they're dull steel. Blank coins, no markings, other than indentations all around the edge. Go show my friend. Friend flips his goddamn lid when he sees them, and pays me about a fortnight's pay if I'll give him the coins. He tells me they are silver, and I have to do more jobs for that guy. He paid us like several $1,000s in silver for like $70 worth of stuff from the science classroom supplies outlet, the local hippie greenery shop, and some pig's blood. Tell him that we should value them and split what they're worth. He finally settles on getting them valued and then paying me half in order to keep them. It ends up being less than a fortnight's wage, so I feel like a moron, but I agree to do more work for the old dude if he asks. Get a membership at the outlet store, and make sure there is nothing I can't buy on short notice. Weird background checks to buy sodium and all that, but I am cleared. By the next time I get a package for the old dude, my friend from work has quit his job and left town. Deleted his social media, and I didn't have his phone number, so he might as well have vanished off the face of the planet. Get a list like last time, mostly weird herbal shit, and I have to go to an Asian emporium way out of Dodge to get it, but I deliver first thing the next morning and get another bag of coins. Take them into a pawn shop and get told they are just silver plated, so I decide not to sell them, and the dude behind the counter changes his tune as soon as I try to walk away. He gives me exactly as much as he quoted last time. Talk to my father about it, and he gets spooked. Tells me I might be into something dangerous. Starts talking about the Rothschild and Illuminati and stuff. I say I'll be careful. In hindsight, I should have listened to him. The next time I turn up, the old dude is furious. You're not the man. You deliver it all, but I met him, and he doesn't know about it at all. Who are you? Tried to ride my bike away. His buff goons in suits knock me off my bike and beat the shit out of me, and then break all my fingers. Eventually they get tired of kicking my crying, bleeding ass on the concrete and throw my bike into a park pond. I limp out of the closed gate community, and not one person is to be seen. Even the security gate only has one dude, and I tell him to call an ambulance, and he does. Next few days were a blur. I quit my job, moved back in with my dad, and didn't leave the house for about a month. I tried to press charges, but after the third attempt and finding the report and gone missing again, I figured I better not fuck with someone who has strings in the police station. Now I work in a low responsibility position for an after-school care program for special needs kids. I have chronic anxiety, and most of my socializing is done online. I might go to uni if I build up the confidence. Sometimes I go most of the day not thinking about it, but when I do, a lead brick sits in my stomach and I feel ill. Don't ever let misunderstandings happen with crazy people. I am lucky to be alive. I grew up in a town that had a ton of families who gave their kids performance/growth-enhancing drugs and created a recruitment network to bring way overqualified people in to teach and coach their kids without having to send them to a private school. I can give a few stories if anyone is interested, and I'm not just shouting into the void. Basically, there was a whole community of families who had created a network of doctors to give them HGH and more exotic treatments. I knew of a whole class of students who were on nootropics for at least a semester and leveraged their dominance of the local voting base to exploit school funding so they could get a magnet school-like experience at a fraction of the cost because it all came out of their property taxes anyways and was only a minimal extra charge, all things considered. These people ran the town. On my free period, loner, so I'm hanging out in the hallway, listening to video game OSTs. AP math teacher walks by me on their way to lunch, says I can't be in the hallway on my own because of school safety rules. I live near where Columbine happened, so they were anal about that. Tell her I would rather not sit on my own in the library where other people are studying. They throw me a bit, so they are aware I'm just a moron. Gives me the option of hanging out in the teacher's lounge for my free period, or having to suffer for the potential of socializing. What the fuck ever. I follow them there. Sitting in the corner, being awkwardly quiet. Teacher looks uncomfortable too. Ask me about classes to break the silence. Get to talking about math. I'm terrible at math. Ask if it's ever confusing for them. A stupid question regardless in hindsight. No, I used to work on modeling where scuds were being launched from, based on satellite data as a defense contractor. We had to design all those algorithms from scratch. Sort of confused. Asked them why they started teaching a high school math class. A former officer I knew offered me a job here with better pay. Weirded out. Teacher looks concerned for a moment and then goes back to eating. Went back to listening to OSTs with my headphones. Later found out that most of the higher level teachers did not have a teaching background. Junior year of high school. A bit more social, so now I sit with people during lunch at least. Dude I didn't know very well takes a bottle of pills out of his backpack and gulps one back. Still a moron, so I fixate on it and have a spaghetti moment. Ask him what that was about. Says they're to help with focusing. Feel like an ass for asking and shut up. A few weeks later, see a girl in the commons area take a similar looking pill. A few days after that, see someone else, and another, and another. Autism senses activate. Realize they are all taking these pills around 12:30. Bring it up to a few people I met. They think it's probably just Adderall or something else for ADHD, and I am weird for asking about it. Keep noticing people taking pills. Start to think there must be an ADHD problem at the school. The next part is entirely secondhand. I never witnessed this personally. Bring it up to a stoner dude I knew in my marketing elective. Laughs and says those are not Adderall. Tells me about how a Chinese girl from school gave him a few at a party, made him trip balls. Assume he's trying to mock me and brush it off with a comment. He keeps insisting that it is true. Share a class with her in the next period, and she asked to leave at right around 12:30. Coincidence? There are no coincidences. After some extremely awkward introductions, find out that her and the guy I knew at lunch are in the creative thinking class together. No one else I ask knows what that class is. Teacher who teaches it only teaches that one class apparently. Desire to know more.jpg. Talk to school counselor about taking it next semester. You need to be selected for it. I wouldn't know more about what was going on there until my senior year, when I took a strength training class. I'll try to sum it up in the next post. Deadlifting with my gym partner. One of the only other weak non-athletes in that class. Guys next to us are lifting heavy, for high schoolers at least, probably 4 to 5 plates. Dude can't make it, fails several times, and gives up on the lift. One of the gym teachers comes over, grills him on if he's keeping up with his routine. Says he'll be calling his parents after class. Sort of a weird happening. Definitely got the attention of a few people, and it becomes a minor piece of gossip that spreads around the school. Got to know the guy who failed the lift later that semester while helping out with sports team stuff. I'm actually still friends with him on Facebook. Bring it up to him one day and ask why his coach freaked out about it. Gets quiet for a moment, then asks me not to share what he is about to tell me. I have not failed at that. Says a few guys on the team are on HGH and anabolic steroids. They get them from a doctor in town. Coach is in on it and wants to make sure they don't run into any problems with college recruiters. Apparently, a lot of people in that school get performance enhancers because their parents ask, or know people, according to him. Make the connection that whatever was going on last year probably came from the same place. Don't bring it up again. Last one, shortest of the three. Ran into an acquaintance from school in a community college class a year after graduating. Group up with him for a project. While working on it, he brings up that a large group of people from our school went off to do better things after graduation. Thanks, asshole. Says the only in guy he knows of that didn't get stuck in civil court cases. Never heard about this. Ask him if he did something over the summer after graduation. Says he was a serial assaulter. The fuck? Guy had assaulted like 4 of our classmates, some in school and some at parties. Administration knew. He was an adult when word of this got out, so I am shocked no news outlet has reported on it. Apparently, his dad was paying for some of their silence, and it wasn't until word got out that hell started to be raised and they got sued. Somehow it never became a criminal case. Local police kept it quiet. Serial assaulter guy is still free. I'm kind of dubious about this one. Another person I brought it up to said that they had heard something similar, but I just don't believe anyone could get away with that, or that even the most CIA parents have that much control. Not a cop, but when I was in school, to get into the federal level of law enforcement, I got a job working private security in a few places. One of them was in Hollywood. No, I didn't part with any celebrities. I worked a handful of events there. None of my stories are paranormal, but they are weird and funny as hell. First client I ever got. Since I had no prior LEO or military experience, I had to start at the very bottom. This meant babysitting rich spoiled people, or more likely their kids. First girl I get is your atypical dumb blonde valley girl from rich parents. I am literally there to make sure this barely functioning fool doesn't get kidnapped because of her party lifestyle. First day I take her to the mall to be with her friends. Spending more money than I have ever seen. She's going through money like a drug lord. Says she needs to go to the bathroom and to wait for her. It was a ruse. I lost her. Panicking, thinking this is going to maybe land me in jail and I should have never done this. Try to remember everything I saw on Law & Order about detective work. Get a list of her friends and start calling them. Find out there's a party in some abandoned building turned club. Go there. Find her in a back room, half naked on a pool table, surrounded by trust fund babies and 2 tables full of every kind of drug you can imagine. Some I didn't even know existed. Dump her dumbass in the car. Let her sober up at an IHOP. When she wakes up, I am fully expecting a moment of, wow, I really need to get my life together. Instead I got, God damn it, it happened again, didn't it? After 3 months, and 4 more incidents like that, I quit and moved on to a new client. Friend finally gets car when he was 17. Bit nervous, so asked me to go out with him one day. Say sure. Drive to a fairly remote, but still close enough place one afternoon. Stop for a bit to talk some shit. Quiet place by a cemetery. We are sort of positioned above it, like the cemetery is on lower ground, and the entrance is higher up. Peer into the cemetery. Is that someone digging a grave by hand? Do they still do that? I thought they used those mini diggers now. Whatever he is doing, he has no regard for the earth he is removing. Bit of a bumpkin place, so it wouldn't surprise me if they were digging by hand. Decent distance away, so it's hard to really tell. Peer harder. I'm not sure that's a person. Encourage friend to drive closer to get a better look. It's a dog of some kind, digging the shit out of a grave, like when dogs dig holes on the beach. Pick related, but imagine it much more aggressively digging, as if it had a real purpose. Look around. It's done it to several of them. Stops digging and looks right at us, growling. Kinda semi-stands up on its hind legs, like a person, but it is still hunched over. Shows no kind of struggling to balance, as if it does this shit on a daily basis. Takes a couple of steps toward us, still on its hind legs. Friend panics. Pulls a Ewer. Gets us the fuck out of Dodge. Never been back. We don't have werewolf or dogman stories, or nothing like that where I'm from, but that definitely wasn't an ordinary dog. It wasn't man-sized exactly, not even St. Bernard-sized. It was more like a really big German Shepherd. Really big in comparison to the size of a regular German Shepherd, but more grey and black, rather than all black or black and tan like they usually are. Be me, 13 years old. Moved to a new house, still live there now. Early evening and home alone. Laying on couch, browsing internet. Front door is open due to summer heat, but screen door is locked shut. Suddenly hear a stampede going up the veranda. Demonic barks and growls. I am left paralyzed, nervously staring at the screen door. See nothing, just hear demonic barks. Suddenly vanishes like nothing was ever there. No signs of anything being on the veranda. A year or 2 later. Come out of my room in the middle of the night to grab a cup of water. Notice back door, which is in the kitchen, is open, and see a humanoid shadow standing there, peering through the screen door. I stay frozen for what felt like minutes. Suddenly it giggles with a girl's voice. Run to my bedroom and stay awake all night. No signs of anyone being there. A year or so later, I started seeing colored spots in my vision from time to time and odd reflections in my glasses. When focusing on the colors, they would turn into shapes, which would turn into animated figures. I treated this as a trick of their eyes and amused myself with it. Eventually they turned into bad images and would not go away. They looked like dead people. One night I snapped and screamed at all of them to leave me alone. They instantly vanished, never seen them again. No problems with my glasses or any issues with my vision that would cause it. 16 to 17 years old. Experience bad dreams. Wake up. See my room like usual. Everything is normal. But my body is paralyzed besides my head. Turn to look over my shoulder. Some sort of deformed woman with a fat and elongated neck stared at me. Greasy black hair. Pasty white skin. Beady little eyes. She screamed and screamed and screamed. Suddenly wake up. World is spinning. Go to vomit and toilet. Stay up the rest of the night on my computer. No other noteworthy experiences. It's been 8 years now. Never did drugs or alcohol. No mental issues to cause hallucinations.